Network modernization is a big step for digital transformation at agencies all across government. I'm Francis Rose with the Scoop News Group. Talking about that with me today is Kenneth Harrison, Telecommunications Office Division Chief at the Census Bureau. Kenny, welcome. Thanks for coming on the program. How is cloud, especially multi-cloud computing, laying the platform for what your agency's doing network-wise? Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today. And I'm excited to tell Census's story about what we're doing and where we're going from a network perspective as it relates to supporting cloud initiatives. But to get into the meat of it, so one of the things we're moving away from the legacy hub and spoke networks where we have, you have your remote offices connecting to a central place. We want to move away from that to give our offices the best path to get to the cloud and to be able to use those services securely. So that's one of the things. And then there's a couple other things there too. We want to do site independent. We want sites to be independent. So if there's an outage in the core, guess what? They can still operate. We want to give them direct access to the cloud. We also want to move towards a zero trust network access model. So those are some of the things that we're changing as we continue to adopt cloud capabilities.
What are the building blocks, Kenny, that you need to be able to get to that especially regarding performance and scalability of your network? What are you setting as your priorities for, say, the next year?
Yeah, so it's getting those core services to the cloud. And those core services are things like domain name service, authentication services. If those things are not in the cloud, guess what? And we're still relying on premise, we're going to be in big trouble. So we want to get those things in the cloud, and I see us having those things available in the next year or so. And then also one of the big things, we've been so used to backhauling traffic. So a lot of us still use the TIC 2.0 capabilities or 2.2 capabilities, and we bring traffic in through the front door and send it back out to the cloud. We want to eliminate that backhaul, and we want to get folks right to the front door of the cloud so that we can give them the best possible performance and a scale when we need it.
Everybody's trying to think about how to do, well, I hate the term more with less, but people are very conscious about where their budgets are coming from. How do you and your peers at Census assess cost versus value when you're making decisions like the ones you just talked about, Kenny?
Yeah, so I've tried to do a little something different and really cost avoid, right? So some of the things that we're looking at are the more expensive transport methods, like MPLS is a little bit more expensive, and being able to use I'm not going to call it cheap, but less expensive services, less expensive internet services, and then cost avoid and take that cost we spend it on MPLS and move it to funding other services that we need to support. But as far as value, I think that's big on when it comes to the cloud and being able to look at it. For example, DNS, if that's down, we're in trouble. So we want to, it's valuable to have that in a cloud and have that resiliency with that service, right? But then there's some cases where costs may be a little bit more expensive. Maybe putting VoIP in the cloud or contact center services in the cloud may be a little bit more expensive. So we'll probably keep those on premise for now in the future until the cost is reduced. So
you mentioned zero trust, and I imagine that's one important component of ensuring security in your network. Is that the biggest one? And what are the others, if there are others?
So one of the biggest things is protecting the privacy of the American people. And when we collect information, we want the American people to know that we treat their information with the highest of confidentiality. And so we're doing things as it relates to zero trust and implementing those capabilities, but also enhancing our visibility, moving security closer to the data, and giving really our goal is to protect that data and that's what everybody at Census Bureau is sworn to do. So that's what we're going to do from a networking perspective.
What about the acquisition of getting all of this stuff? Are there steps that you and your team have been able to take in conjunction with your acquisition folks to try to speed up the way that you're procuring these things that you need?
Yes, absolutely. So from a Department of Commerce perspective, we have several blanket purchase agreements in place that we can quickly get access to these services and capabilities. We also leverage the Enterprise Infrastructure Solutions contract that's supported by GSA, has a ton of modern solutions that we can get access to. But the things that are not in those, that don't fall into those two contracts, we're streamlining the process so that we can get access to services quickly. And when I say streamlining, I mean getting everybody up front, having all the requirements in place, consolidating some of the services we have internally into one major contract. So those are the things that we're doing to get access to these services quickly.
Are you hitting any pain points with technology partners, Kenny?
No, actually, well, let's take this back. Please forgive me on this. So since COVID, the one biggest pain point is supply chain. And we have some challenges with getting some of the hardware we need for some of the on-premise services we have. But that's been the biggest point, is the supply chain. But other than that, all of the cloud providers have been very helpful in wanting us to help us get to the cloud and to move away from the on-premise services we have.
Kenny Harrison of the Census Bureau, I really appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.